Hey everyone, and welcome. Today, we are going to pull back the curtain on one of Claude's most game-changing features, skills. We're going to talk about how you can take Claude from being a super smart, kind of helpful intern to a fully trained, expert teammate that knows exactly what you need done every single time. You know the feeling, right? You spend all this time crafting the perfect, super detailed prompt for a task. You get an amazing result, and then, the next day, you have to do the whole thing all over again. It feels like this endless loop of training a brilliant AI who, for some reason, just can't remember what you told it yesterday.
And that is exactly the problem that skills are here to solve. A one-off prompt, that's manual labor, and honestly, the results can be all over the place. But a skill, think of it like a saved standard operating procedure, an SOP, that Claude just picks up and uses automatically. The result? You get consistent, high-quality work, and Claude, not you, does all that repetitive heavy lifting. So, here's our game plan for today. We're going to dive into what skills actually are, and then we'll look at how they work their magic. We'll clear up any confusion about how they're different from tools and subagents, and we'll wrap up with the really practical stuff, when you should actually be using them.
Okay, so let's get right into it. What exactly is a Claude skill? The best way to think about it is like an onboarding manual for your new AI teammate. It's that guide you'd hand a new person so they can handle their tasks all on their own, without you looking over their shoulder. I mean, this quote just nails it, doesn't it? You're not just saving a prompt for later. You are giving Claude a reference guide that it can pull up and use all by itself. It's the difference between constant micromanagement and actually truly delegating work. And for those who want the more formal definition, here it is. A skill is basically a little package, a file on your computer that bundles up everything Claude needs to become an expert in one specific area. You're taking a general-purpose AI and turning it into a specialist for your needs. So what does one of these onboarding guides actually look like under the hood? Let's take a look at the anatomy of a skill. And you'll see it's actually way simpler than you might think. It all starts with a folder. Seriously, that's it. You make a folder, give it a name, and inside that folder there's just one file that really matters, skill.md. This little file is the heart and soul of your skill. Now this file starts with a little bit of what's called metadata. Think of this as the cover of your instruction manual. And the most important part here, I can't stress this enough, is the description. This one little sentence is how Claude figures out when to use this skill. If you get this wrong, your amazing skill will just sit there, collecting dust. Right after that metadata, you get to the good stuff, the body of the file. This is the recipe. This is where you write down all your detailed step-by-step instructions, just like you would in a really well-crafted prompt. But the amazing part is, you only have to write this one time. All right, now for the really clever part. Let's look at how Claude actually uses these skills without completely clogging up your precious context window. It's all about learning as efficiently as possible. The secret sauce here is a concept called progressive disclosure. It sounds kind of fancy, but all it really means is that Claude only gets the information it needs right when it needs it. It doesn't just dump everything from every skill you have into its memory all at once. It happens in 3 really smart stages. First, when you start up, Claude only glances at the name and description of all your skills. This takes up almost no space, so you can have hundreds of them. Second, when your prompt matches a description, then it loads the actual instructions for that one skill. And finally, if those instructions mention another file, like a template, it only grabs that file at the very last second. It is context on demand, and it's incredibly efficient. Okay, a question I get all the time is how skills fit in with other things like tools and subagents. It can be a little confusing, so let's take a moment to organize our AI team and make sure everyone knows their job. So yeah, what is the difference? They all seem to give Claude new powers, right? Well, yes, but they do it in very different ways, and they're meant for totally different situations. This table breaks it down perfectly. A skill is all about teaching Claude how to do something, like a specific workflow or a set of best practices. A tool, on the other hand, is about giving Claude access to something, like an external API for Notion or GitLab. And a subagent, that's a whole separate workspace for really big, token-heavy tasks so they don't mess up your main conversation. And look at the context management. It's a huge difference. Skills load on demand, while tools can eat up your context right from the start. All right, let's bring it all home with the practical advice. When should you actually invest the time to build a skill? Let's go over the pros, the cons, and then I'm going to give you your first assignment. The reasons to build a skill are, well, pretty awesome.
You turn Claude into a specialist, you get rock-solid consistency, you completely kill repetition, you save a ton of context tokens, and you can even chain skills together to build some seriously complex workflows. It is all about working smarter, not harder. But you gotta watch out for a few common traps. The number one mistake by far is writing a vague description. If you do that, your skill will never get used. Also, make sure your descriptions don't overlap. Don't try to build one super skill that does everything. And remember, your first draft is probably not going to be perfect. You'll need to test it and tweak it a bit.
So I'm going to leave you with this question to think about. What's that one repetitive task you're always asking your AI to do? You now have the blueprint to automate it permanently. Your expert AI teammate is ready to be trained. So what's going to be their very first assignment?